and welcome back for lesson 4. For this lesson we will create a measurable annual goal for John and some measurable objectives as well. And for this section I'm going to start on IEP 6, measurable annual goals. Click on the goal. For goal number 1, we're going to call this written expression, because that is the area that he needs. And immediately hit Save Page Name. Okay, now we're actually going to get started on the goal. For me, the main part of the IEP is the measurable annual goals. I'm going to put number 1 in the box here because it's his first goal. And as you can see, I've got some examples already typed in for us to save time. For the area, you're going to put the content area or a functional need. By functional need, that could be adaptive behaviors or things like that. The next section is the present level of academic achievement and functional performance, and we call these the plops. As you can see, I've typed in an example here, but I want to go into a little bit of a description of what goes here before I read my example. For the plops, you want to mainly state clearly in measurable terms the quantifiable baseline for which each goal is going to be measured. In other words, for each goal, there will be a corresponding plop directly related to it. For this particular section, enter current information on the student if it's available. Where do you get the information might be a question you would have. You can use the ETR results if they're current. You can also use formative assessment results. You can use curriculum-based assessment results. You can use transition assessment results, or if it's a functional area, you can use functional behavior assessment results. So that will give you an idea of what kind of information can go here. As you can see on my present level, according to the results of the Woodcock-Johnson Test of Achievement 3, we have curriculum-based assessments and teacher observations. So John displays a need for specially designed instruction in the area of written expression. A recent teacher survey indicates a need for remediation in the areas of writing mechanics, transitioning between sentences and paragraphs, and incorporating more content into his writing. John is able to determine simple sentences, but should be encouraged to develop more complex sentences. He is commended for his spelling skills and ability to follow both written and verbal directions in class. John will take the Ohio graduation test for the first time in March of 2014. Now, if John had already taken the OGT or the state or district-wide test, you would put the results here if you did not put them on the very front page under the profile. This will hopefully serve as an example for you to go by. The next section we have is the measurable annual goal. This is really important. What you want to do is determine what John needs the most. For example, if you use the plop that I have written up here, I would say for John, just creating some paragraphs that contain all of this information that he needs would be a great place to start. I tend to use the measurable annual goal that will cover most of the things that I said he needs up here in this section. And then I'll break it down in this bottom section with the objectives or benchmarks. Okay, for the annual goal, I'm going to go to the bank import because it's important to actually create your goals and objectives based on the state standards. So once you get here, I'm going to edit the goals section. We have nothing in there yet, but I'm going to add standards. On your standards, you can come up here, and I just happen to know where I'm going, but there's a whole section here on English Language Arts, and for John I'm going to use the extended standards. Tend to use the extended standards for students that have been identified as maybe a cognitive disability or some of your moderate to more severe disabilities. And as you can see here, we have all the extended standards in English Language Arts for grades 9 through 12. This section is the reading standards. I'm going to scroll down till I find the writing standards. Okay, here we have some writing standards. I think there's a couple sections. So you can kind of read through until you find something that will correlate with what you said the student needs in the plops. Okay, so for John, there's a couple here that actually might work. I'm going to use this one right here, generate narrative text with a logical sequence of events, descriptive details, and conclusion that reflects on the experience and resolves the conflict. So I'm going to put a check mark by that. Scroll down to the bottom and add selected items. And here it is. It shows back up on your edit goals section. Up here, this is just some information as to where you've retrieved your information from. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. We don't really need all that information. Okay, and now I'm going to save it and return to the IEP. And there it is. It kind of posted it in there. Now for creating these annual goals, they have to be measurable. So I'm going to add here, by the end of this IEP, John will generate narrative text with a logical sequence, and there we have it. Now we need to develop how we're going to measure this. So let's say with at least 80% accuracy when no more than 2 prompts or 1 prompt, whatever you want to do. Okay, and we'll generate narrative text. I might say we'll generate 2 paragraphs of narrative text. You want to be as specific as possible. Over here we have methods. This is how you're going to measure this goal and these objectives. You have all kinds of options here in the middle. I'm just going to put work sample since it's writing, which is I. Whichever ones you choose, make sure you have that proof in case you're asked to produce how you're measuring the goals. So I'm just going to leave it simple and write I. This section here will be for your benchmarks and objectives, and again you will use the bank import and gather objectives that also focus on the plops. Everything is focused on the plops with your goals. So I might get one that focuses on creating complex sentences. Maybe there would be one on writing mechanics, things like that. I would definitely want to include those down here. And method and frequency for reporting the child's progress to parents, we will use a written report, and they will also be sent home with report cards, and we do this every 4.5 weeks. So for the first 4.5 weeks into school, you'll send home an interim, and you will basically provide them with information on as to how they're progressing toward these goals. And then again at report card time, then it'll be again halfway to the next report card time. You kind of get the idea. And when you're all finished, save and close, and you're back to your original task queue. I hope this was informative and helps you create good measurable annual goals. And I also want to encourage you to please look at your annotated IEP form section 6 when doing so.